Right, welcome to this little introduction to using Visio to create extended entity relationship diagrams. So for this particular example, I'm going to look at a hire system and a basic client transaction entity relationship diagram. So if we've got the ERD, you see I've got the client makes transactions, and transactions is made by clients. So fully attributed, you'll see I've got client first name, last name, salute, address 1, town, city, and for the transactions I've got the attributes down here. So it's fairly simple to create in Visio. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just shift it off. So start Visio to begin with, and depending on where you are, you might either find that you don't have to select the categories, in which case you're looking at software and database, or you might be lucky enough to get straight in there. So the first thing we need to do is select the software and database category and the crow's foot database notation. So just create that. That'll set up a basic template, and on the right here you'll see the entities, the primary key separators, primary key attributes, the standard attributes, and the relationship. So not a hang of a lot. If you hold the control key down and just roll your mouse up, you can zoom in a bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is just drag the entity over onto the screen. Now the entity name, if we saw it before, is called table client. So just type it in. The primary key attribute, I'm just going to make it as a client ID. And the first attribute name you'll see is client first name. I'll just abbreviate it. And the second one is client last name. Now to add another attribute, it's quite simple. Just grab the attribute 1, drag it over and let it go. Just double click on it. We can make the other one say client salute. And we'll add just one more by the stage. You can see how it works. So the next one is client address. Right, that's all there is to adding a basic attribute entity. Right, let's add the second entity. So just to remind you, that's what we're looking at the moment. We're going to be looking at creating the transaction table. So the client has a couple of transactions. So what we do is we drag the entity over. Just move that one across to that one a little bit. So the entity name is going to be the table transaction. The primary key for this is the transaction ID. Now we're going to join up to the client ID, so let's put the client ID, so that's the one over here under the primary key. So this transaction belongs to this client. The next attribute we've got there is transaction type. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to lose it. Let's get rid of that. So just hit the delete button. Drag another attribute over. Click on it. There we are. And it's transaction date. And I'll drag one more over. Suppose we should tell it what it is. And transaction amount. So that's transaction amount. Right, so that very simply has created our two entities, which we can now start looking at putting together. I'll just move them over a bit, that's a bit better. Let's put a relationship together. I can actually make that a bit smaller if I want to, just so it's a little bit tighter. Just click on it, grab those corner handles. Just got to get the right one, that's all. I actually can't go, just keep there's the border. That's it. Right. Okay, so putting a relationship together, you click on relationships, drag the relationship over to here, and you'll see it's got a relationship. At this stage, it's trying to join itself to itself. So let's just move one of the endpoints. So grab the endpoint and we'll just drag it over to this other one. It's a bit wonky at the moment. Now what we can do is we can change, if I zoom right in on it, you can just kind of see that it's got a 0, 1 or many relationship on this end, and at the other end it's got a 1 and only 1 relationship, which is all very well, but as you can see, as we zoom out, it's very, very difficult to see. Now actually it should be the other way around, so if we have a look at the original diagram, you can see that the transaction must belong to one client, or that the client can have 0, 1 or many transactions. So I'm actually the wrong way around. Now I could drag those corner handles around the opposite way, just pick that one up and drag it over, or by clicking on the actual relationship I can then right click and bring up the context sensitive menu. So at the moment I can go to set begin symbol, so the begin symbol currently is 0 or more, so it's the wrong way around. So I want 1 and only 1. So now if you look very closely, it's now changed it to a 1 and only 1. Let's do that now for the other end. We'll change it back to what should be a 0, 1 or many. So we go to the end symbol and we go to the 0 or more, and now you'll find if we zoom back up, the symbol here, I'll just move it over a bit, the symbol there is now a 0, 1 or many. Now that's all very well, but as you can see, it's almost impossible to see the relationship. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on the relationship again, and this time we're going to go into format the shape. Now this is the trick. If we now go onto the line, go right down the bottom, you see that it's got the begin arrow size. I want to make that, and I have found that you practically have to go to jumbo to get it right. You can go colossal if you want, and there's jumbo for the other end. So now the diagram starts to look so much better in terms of the actual size of the arrows. You can move them up and around if you want to. Alright, so much clearer in terms of what the diagram is showing. Last thing we want to do is, you can see that with the diagram that we actually have these statements. So the client makes some transactions, and a transaction is made by client. So we need to put makes in as made by, so let's pop those in. Alright, very simply, we just go into insert, we go into text box, click the text box down here, and we just go makes. Okay, now we can change that size wise, just make it a bit smaller so it's not sort of quite so dominant. And then we want to put the other one in, so text box down, text box down here, and is made by. And I'll just make that a bit smaller, so click off, click on to the object, make it a bit smaller. Whoa, it's a bit better, and just drag it over a bit. So now you can see we've pretty much got the diagram. Now one of the things you'll notice is that the actual text showing up is that light blue colour. Now it actually produces very poorly if you put it in a document, very difficult to read. So there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, we can actually make the text bigger. So if we click on the whole object and go home, we can change it from 12 point, say we make it up to 14 point. Actually all I've done is change the top bit, so let's change the rest of it. So click on client ID, name. I'm using the shift key at the moment, just to, I should be using the control key, and I'm just going to change that to 12 point. You can see it makes it a bit bigger. So again, click, just control, click on each of the different objects. There's probably a faster way, but this will do. And just say I need to go at 12. So now the text is bigger, it's a little bit easier to read. Let's make the ones at the top a little bit bigger, so let's make them 14 so they stand out. And we'll make the other table client 14 as well. Sometimes you have to click a few times to get to it. Right, one of the issues, as I said, is that the printing quality is pretty lousy. So we can actually change that by going to the design view. And just by selecting different designs, we can actually improve it. Now you'll notice that now that I've got this one called TR, which is sort of floating around in the middle of space. Just make sure that I haven't got a, looks like I've just got an extra one floating in there. Alright, not sure what that one is. I can't get to it. Right. Okay, alright, finally, let's just add a heading to the top. So, just go insert text box up to the top here, and just put extended entity relationship diagram. And again, click on it, click off, click on it. We can make it much bigger. Go back to the home, increase the font size. Let's go say 18, really big. Move it over here, make it bold, and we'll just change its colour to say a dark blue or a blue there. Right, so that's basically it. Nice, quick and simple demonstration of how to use Visio to create an extended entity relationship diagram. Thanks for watching.